Can you now go into a little bit about some of the pros and cons about van life? And let's start with the pros. What are the best parts about van life?
The freedom, for sure. Being able to go anywhere, anytime, essentially. I mean, you know, some weather constrictions, for me at least, during the winter. But definitely the freedom is a pro. Getting outside of your comfort zone, for sure, like on every level. I never would picture myself DMing people I don't know and asking them to go on a hike. You know, I just, that is not something I ever pictured myself doing. That is definitely a pro for me. And it's a different way of living. And for someone who is like, I came from a retail background, my life was fashion, and I had a full closet of just stuff. And, you know, when I moved into my van, I sold probably close to 500 pieces of clothing. And yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. And so, like, downsizing and realizing, like, this stuff just isn't important for me, you know? And I feel like it's really helped me kind of like reprioritize what is actually important. And in doing that, I feel like it's kind of helped me figure out like who I am more and not cling so hard to like an identity. Yeah, those are the pros.
Gotcha. And let's flip to the other side now. What are the downsides of van life? Because I think a lot of people, when they see, whether it's people like you or anyone else, doing the van life thing, they think either they're like, I don't know why I'd ever do that. Or two, they're like, that looks amazing. But like everything, there's going to be negative aspects to it. So what are some of those negative aspects that people don't see on Instagram?
It's hard. Living in a vehicle by yourself is hard. And I think, you know, just things come up. And I think that's, for me, has been like the hardest part is like, you know, things happen in life, but when you're also living out of your vehicle and like that is your home, like things happen and you're just like, well, okay. Like 3 days ago, my van decided to break down at like 10:30 at night. And I was very fortunate that I had friends in the area that could help me out. And I have AAA that could tow me and I was in a safe space and I had service. But I've been in situations where I haven't had service and I've been in a sticky situation. Or, you know, like there's some nights where you wake up or some days you wake up and you're like, okay, where am I going to sleep tonight? Like, what am I going to, you know, there's like certain things you have to think about that, you know, if you live in a house and, you know, you don't have to think about those things. But like overall, like negative points to it, I feel like there's not a whole lot. It's just a different way of living. And I think I was very ready and like mentally prepared for that. And I wanted that, you know, I wanted a simpler way of life. But, you know, that might not be for everybody. But I would just say the hardest things is like really just learning how to go with the flow and like learning that like you can't control things sometimes and things just happen and you're just kind of like, okay, it is what it is. And you know, especially if you're not working or you're unemployed and, you know, these big things come up and you're just kind of like, okay, that was like my month's expenses I just spent in a day on my car, you know, like those things are kind of harder to deal with, but I wouldn't give up, you know, any of that stuff to go back to a different life. So I'll take it all.
And along those lines, you just mentioned work and income. What are you doing for work while you're on the road?
At the moment, I'm not working, but I've done just sort of like a lot of odd jobs, I guess you could say. Like I've door dashed. I've dog walked. I've house sat. I catered for a bit this summer. I've sold some stuff online. That's it. I didn't really want to be working full time on the road. Like, I didn't want a remote job. I couldn't sit in my van on a computer. That's just not what I want to do. But I'm now at that point where I'm like, okay, maybe I just get a seasonal job and, I'll work for a little bit and then go out and travel and adventure more. But it's different for everybody. And, so many people are like, you should just be a photographer and do that. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of figuring it out right now. And, but I don't have like a full-time job.